on a cloudy and cold Sunday afternoon. Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome on into the bullpen. I'm Adam the Bull, and it's brought to you by Bet Rivers. If you are not using the Bet Rivers app, you are missing out, my friends. What are you doing? And Bet Rivers players who place a same-game parlay of at least $10 on NFL or NCAA football games will receive an entry into the weekly Squares game. You see it right there on the screen. Winning Squares can earn up to a $50 bonus bet per entry. See the Bet Rivers app or website for more details. Well, we've got plenty of details for the Browns' exciting 20-18 win over the Bengals. The Browns end the season on a 2-game losing streak. They get a walk-off field goal by Andre Schmidt. There is so much to dive into here. Was, again, this a bad win? At this point, I don't know that it mattered because their draft pick wasn't going to change much. Myles Garrett breaks the record. The offense, for the most part, was terrible, but they're able to manage a last-second field goal. Will Kevin Stefanski be fired today or tomorrow? Will Andrew Berry be fired? Will Baker Mayfield make the playoffs? Baker Mayfield needs the Atlanta Falcons to lose to the Saints. The Saints just scored a touchdown, but the Falcons lead 19-17 with 1:11 to go. So the Saints are going to need to recover an onside kick. That's what Baker Mayfield is hoping for. Where are the Browns drafting? All of it. Injuries, defense, offense, a lot to get to on today's episode of The Bullpen with Adam the Bull. Yes, indeed. You see the final score right there. 20-18. It was a bizarre game because the Browns' offense really was non-existent. Shedeur Sanders was under 100 yards until his last completion of the game. The running game, as has been the case lately, was spotty at times, although there were some moments. I mean, overall, the Browns averaged 5 yards per carry on the ground, so I can't say the running game was terrible. I mean, Dylan Sampson didn't do much with his 10 carries, and he led the way, 10 carries for 32 yards. But the rest of the guys, and the Browns had 7 players carry the ball, did pretty well. So we'll get to all of it. But we got to begin with Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett, who looked like he was going to shatter the NFL sack record. It looked like that he would break it easily. We came down to the final 2 weeks of the season with Myles Garrett only needing 1 sack to break the record. We saw what happened last week against Pittsburgh, right? The Steelers played the game as if they were not interested in winning, even though we know that's not true realistically. They just wanted to avoid being the victim of that sack record. And for much of the game today, the Bengals game plan, not as extreme, obviously, as the Steelers, but it was nonetheless, the Bengals were running the ball a lot more than they normally do. They were throwing a lot of quick passes, not a ton downfield, but certainly Myles Garrett had some chances in this game, which he really didn't have against Pittsburgh. And then finally, after he went last week with no sacks, after he went the first, 54 minutes of this game with no sacks, the play comes, Joe Burrow in trouble, Myles Garrett forces him up in the pocket, he sees a defender coming in front of him, he's about to get crushed, and he goes down. Now, I got some numbnuts out there saying, he took a dive just like Brett Favre. It's the same thing. It is not the same thing. You're an idiot if you say that. He wasn't taking a dive. He and the Bengals were trying to win the game. And Myles Garrett, it's 100% legitimate sack. I'm not listening to any nonsense about asterisks. I'm not listening to any nonsense about dives. He breaks the sack record. It's an unbelievable accomplishment. You saw how the team celebrated. What the Browns opponents the last 3 weeks really. Buffalo, Pittsburgh, 2 playoff teams. The Bengals with a really good offense. What Myles Garrett. I have never seen a defensive player, an individual player, make a bigger impact without putting up stats, really. Myles Garrett put up very, very little in the stat department, in the traditional stat department. the last 3 weeks. If you look at his sacks and his tackles and his pressures and all that stuff, you're not going to see much in those categories for the last 3 weeks. But his impact on all 3 games, which ended up with 2 wins and 1 close loss, competitive loss, and which ultimately he got enough sacks, just enough sacks to break the record, was just incredible. I don't think we've ever seen anything like it. I don't think we've ever seen teams game plan for a player like this, not in this particular situation. He is one amongst one of current players. He is one amongst maybe 3 or 4 of all-time players. And by the time his career is all said and done, Myles Garrett may go down as the greatest pass rusher of all time. He may go down as the greatest defensive lineman of all time. He may go down as the greatest defensive player of all time. I guess that depends what happens the rest of his career from here on out. But he is a lock Hall of Famer, first ballot, no discussion. And to break this sack record, when especially the last 3 weeks, the entire game plan of the offenses, again, including 2 teams that needed to win, especially Pittsburgh last week, the way they made these teams play football was remarkable. And it's not about Jim Schwartz. It's not about the entire Browns defense, although I'll give some credit to the entire Browns defense in general. But this is about one man, and I don't think we've ever seen anything like it. Not on the defensive side of the ball. It was absolutely remarkable. I saw that Myles' dad, Lawrence, was there, and he had the big camera out, which was really cool. And there were a lot of Browns fans in attendance. Just magnificent. I'm so glad that Myles Garrett broke the record. I just think it's unbelievable. There are not enough words to put, and I know this. He's got some haters. I'm not saying he's perfect. He threw the coach under the bus yesterday. The coach is probably gone anyway. We'll get to that. And he's had his moments. But I've always been a huge Myles Garrett fan. I always thought he had another level in him. I think people, not that I motivated him in any way, of course, but I think a lot of people thought it was crazy when myself and others said, he could be better. He could be better. And he was. And this year, after his entire career of playing as a great player, this was a whole nother level. It was a whole other level. And the fact that he was able to do it on a bad team honestly, it's even more remarkable because the entire season, every team the Browns played did not have to worry about the Browns offense. The Browns offense, one of the worst in the league, completely inept all season long, almost every game. And there was no worry about it. He didn't get, all these people with, TJ Watt had 15 games and Michael Strahan 16 games. Tell me how many pass rushing opportunities those guys had. I bet you they had more than Myles Garrett, even though he played more games. Because teams didn't have to throw against the Browns very often. The Bengals did late. That's when he got the sack. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Absolutely magnificent performance by Myles Garrett. Breaking news from Atlanta. The Falcons have defeated the Saints 19-17. That means the Falcons, the Panthers, and the Buccaneers finish in a 3-way tie for the NFC South at 8-9, which is just pitiful. And based on the tiebreakers, the Carolina Panthers are into the playoffs, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going home. Baker Mayfield, congratulations to him on one of the greatest choke jobs in the history of football. The Buccaneers were 6-2. 6-2. All they had to do was win 3 games in their final 9, and they lost 7 and won only 2. Unbelievable. Now, as for the defense as a whole, defense played an absolutely outstanding game for the Browns. Across the board, it was a magnificent performance. Magnificent's too strong. Magnificent's too strong for the entire defense. They got the tip ball. Like the Bengals offense was moving the ball most of the game. The Bengals had the touchdown. That tip ball, which led to the interception and a touchdown, turned this game around. Then a fumble return for a touchdown. And the Browns were up 14-6, having done 0 on offense. Bengals scored that crazy touchdown. Great play by T. Higgins at the end of the first half. Browns led, though, most of the way until the Bengals scored a touchdown with 1:12 left. And but the Browns got an opportunity. 10 plays, 40 yards. They get the game-winning field goal. Andre Schmidt now. Never afraid to admit I was wrong. I said the Browns should cut. I'm going to keep it real. Probably most people forgot, but I don't play that game. I thought the Browns should have moved on from Andre Schmidt after week 1 when he blew that game. I was wrong. Bad job out of me. Good job out of Andre Schmidt. He's had a great season since week 1. He hits the game-winning field goal. Now, what the Browns should not do, last time they had a kicker have a good season, they gave him an extension. You don't need to do that. Don't need to guarantee money for kickers. Same thing here. I'm not paying guaranteed money to kickers until they've done it for a number of years. So I am not paying him at all. But I want him back. I mean, I'm paying him for the year. I'd give him a 2-year deal if there's 0 guaranteed money. But that's it. I'm not locking him up to some extension like they did with the last guy who screwed the pooch after that. Okay? Now, on offense, the passing game was horrendous. We keep it real on this show, of course. Shedeur Sanders played a terrible game. Now, I'm going to give him credit on that last drive when they needed that field goal. He made one big play. They remember the first pass of that drive, not a good pass. He takes the sack, and it's 3rd down and 10 at their own 29. And he made the completion to Isaiah Bond, 13 yards and a first down. He doesn't make that completion. Nice, easy throw. That's a good play. That helped lead the Browns to victory. There's no doubt about it. He then made a terrible throw to Cedric Tillman. He made a good throw to Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy almost blew it, but made a nice catch. The pass to Bond, he had him. That should have been a game-winning touchdown. He had Bond. Bond had his man beat. Not a good throw by Shedeur there. But he made a couple plays on that last drive, so I'll give him credit for that. But overall, he was terrible in this game. Geno Stone has stone hands, so he can't catch. But Shedeur made a lot of bad throws in this game. He did not play well at all. Again, the team around him is absolute trash. The offensive line is garbage. The wide receiving crew is garbage. Their 2 best tight ends are out. Their best running back is out. But I'll tell you, the running game, as I alluded to earlier, besides Dylan Sampson, who did nothing in this one, had one nice run, and he he caught the ball a couple times. But between every other guy, Shedeur himself, Raheem Sanders, Corley, Travion Williams, Jerry Jeudy, and Isaiah Bond, those guys combined 14 carries for 86 yards, which is really good. I mean, that's well over 5 yards per carry. Shedeur had a couple of nice runs. Raheem Sanders had a couple of nice plays, and same thing with Corley. So the Browns ran it okay. It's wild. You look at the total yardage. I mean, the Bengals won by a lot. What was it? Total yards. Bengals had 364. The Browns had 200. I mean, 200 is hideous. They averaged less than 4 yards per play. They were 5 of 14 on 3rd down. Terrible. In the passing game, Shedeur Sanders averaged less than 3 yards per pass. It's horrible. The advanced analytics are not going to be good here either. Shedeur ends the season probably with his worst game, his worst performance. I'll give him a D. I'll give him a D because he contributed on that final drive to them leading to the field goal. Takes it up from an F to a D. But nobody on the offense is getting a good grade. Again, he's got nothing around him. Maybe I give him a D plus. I give him a D plus. How about that? If he had a normal team, it would have been an F level performance. But I move it up to a D plus because the team around him stinks, and the Browns have a ton of work to do. I still am holding out hope that the Browns will fire Andrew Berry. Between the reporting and what I've heard personally, it sounds like he's not going to be fired. That's batshit crazy. Obviously, he's done a terrible job putting together an offense. You cannot do a worse job in 6 years putting together an offense. I don't know in the history of football if anybody's done a worse job, and yet he's going to keep his job. It does appear Kevin Stefanski's going to get fired. I would fire Kevin Stefanski. I do think Kevin Stefanski is better at his job than Andrew Berry is. I think Kevin Stefanski will get another head coaching job. I think when Andrew Berry gets fired, he will never get another GM job, so that'll tell you something there. Will they fire him? Yes. You see, I think Kevin Stefanski's going to get fired. I don't know if it's going to happen today or tomorrow. So we'll see. I got Twitter open, and we'll see if there's any breaking news here. But as of now, nothing yet, and I don't know that we'll get anything for sure here. Let's see. Kevin Stefanski is talking as we speak. He still won't answer any questions. When he was asked about his job security, he said, quote, "I'm not making the focus about me." All right, good for him. In this case, I don't mind. Declined. He was asked if this game on his future. He declined comment. This game is not about me. So he's not going to get fired right now, but it's likely to happen later today or tomorrow. And so there you go. Some of the in terms of the draft order, the Browns, as of this moment, are picking 7th. If Washington wins tonight, the Browns will move up a spot to 6. If Washington loses tonight, the Browns will stay where they are at 7. The Jaguars pick, we don't know because obviously they're in the playoffs. Depends how far they go. Other teams, Vegas has the top pick. If they lose, they will. I think even if they, no, that's not necessarily true. If they win, they could cost themselves the top pick. I think it's close. The strength of schedule is close, so it'd come down. It's possible. I think the Jets could get the number 1 pick, but the Raiders probably won't win. But as of now, Raiders, Tennessee, Jets, Arizona, Giants, who won today, Washington. Actually, I believe Washington, if they lose, would actually move up to the 5 spot ahead of the Giants. Then the Browns will pick 7th. If Washington loses, the Browns will be the only team in the NFL to finish 5-12. There'll be no tiebreakers there. Right now, the Saints are 8, the Bengals are 9, the Chiefs are 10. But if the Chiefs lose, they'll jump ahead of the Bengals into the 9 spot. And there you go, for those who may care about such things. All right, let's see if we can take some comments from the fans here. Okay. Brian Green says, "Stop whining, take your win, and move on to next season." Debo, Shedeur Sanders beat Joe Burrow in his rookie year. D. Emmanuel Comedy, Shedeur Sanders had a game-winning drive. You gave Dylan credit for way less. I gave Dylan no credit all year. That's a lie. He stinks. Taylor Adam, is Shedeur cheeks or not cheeks? I vote cheeks. He's got a cheeks cult. I still am unsure about Shedeur Sanders. To me, he's not done enough. That makes me sure he's the guy. I've seen some things that are positive from him. Very little today. He didn't play well today. Anybody that can't acknowledge that is just being ridiculous. But I don't know that they're going to be able to draft a quarterback. So I think Sanders will have a chance to prove himself again next year. He'll be in a competition, is my best guess right now, for the starting job, and he might be the starter next year. I'm not ready to say he's cheeks or not. Let's see. Giselle Mattori History says Shedeur trash. Euro J, you don't know football. Bear Baby, I'm here to hear Bull hate on Shedeur. Sam Fryman, if I'm Cleveland, I'm not wasting a single draft pick on a defensive player, only offense. Private User says I'm a loser because I'm fat. Thanks, Private User. Gregory, he's not the answer on offense. Didn't have anything to work with because his process is so slow. Debo, he did plenty having no offense. Come on, stop it. He threw for 111 yards. Stop it. The Bengals defense stinks also. Come on. TR, these guys are a work in progress. Same Woods. Who have you seen in the last 15 years that you thought were the guy? I thought Baker was the guy for a little while until he wasn't. Silver Joystick. Shedeur doesn't have what it takes. Let's see. Better days. Shedeur winning with practice squad players. Get him a whole new offensive line. Come on, keep it real, man. The defense won this game. And listen, Shedeur gets credit on that final drive. Even though he missed the throw to Bond, he kept the drive alive on that third down play. Football on the Boulevard, Adam, in all seriousness, we can't go into next year with Sanders. We need a top elite quarterback. Good luck getting that. Jerry says Shedeur Sanders has it all that it takes to be successful and more. Next, Jim, to see what Sanders does with a good offense. Are you sure that they're going to have a good offense by next year? I don't know that they're going to have a good offense by next year. Mo Kane, Bull, your chat full of batshit crazy. Dennis says, you have nutty chat people. We win and they bitch. What a bunch of losers. KBH, the defense scored 14 points. What are you guys talking about? Debo, the defense did the majority of the work, so what? Apparently I'm moving the goal. People are always getting accused of, and myself included, of moving the goalpost. I don't know. Explain to me how I move the goalpost. I love it. I don't know. I don't even understand what you're talking about. Somebody legitimately tell me what I've done to move the goalpost. Playoff football on the Boulevard, Adam the Bull. You know, when in your heart Sanders is not a good quarterback. Football on the Boulevard. Every Shedeur Sanders fan, even though I've been completely fair about him, and they're not, is calling me a hater. If I really thought he had no chance to be good, I would say it. I'm getting called a hater anyway. I always tell you what I honestly feel. I'm really on the fence about. I'm definitely not in on him, but I'm not completely out on him either, as opposed to Dylan Gabriel, who I'm completely out on. Ronham. Shedeur only made passes at the end of prevent defense. Debo Bull is at least biased of the Cleveland media. It was the least biased. Thank you. Thought you were ripping me. All right. Private User, D+, that is fair. Jerry Flint, I like how you keep the conversation interesting, but Shedeur's quarterback 1. Willie, we need a wide receiver 1 and an O-line, then let's see Sanders. Definitely need a wide receiver 1, and you need 5 offensive linemen. You're not going to be able to fix everything in 1 year. Hopefully, they'll fix some of that next year. KRB takes. Bull, you shared your thoughts on Flores for coach. Yes, I'm a huge Brian Flores guy. I want him to be the head coach of the Browns. Brian Hoyer agreed with that. He thought he'd be a great choice. In terms of GM, I'm not going to be a phony about it. I don't have a good feel for GM. Like, it's hard to say who'd be a good GM. We don't even saying who's going to be a good coach is almost impossible for, unless you're with a team, because you don't know what the guys are doing behind the scenes. But at GM, it's impossible. So I'd be disingenuous if I gave you a choice for GM. Max says, I hate Weekly. Stop it. Chip says Sanders can be good. Debo, I'm not calling you a hater. I'm calling you a fence rat. Debo, I'm sorry. If you want me to say, like, what's the question? I'll give you an honest answer. If your question is, do I think Shedeur Sanders is going to be a top 2-tier quarterback? Like, you got the top guys, Burrow, Lamar, Allen, and Mahomes, and then you got the next group where guys who are really good, you can win with them, blah, blah, which is probably, depending on the year, there's anywhere from 4 to 8 guys in that next group. If you're asking me right now, I got to bet everything. Is Shedeur a top 2-tier quarterback? I'm going to say no. If you ask me, is Shedeur not good enough to be a starter? I'm also going to say no. If I had to bet right now, I'd say Shedeur ends up being a lower tier starter if I had to pick. And ultimately, that's not good enough. But it might be good enough next year, and I certainly might be wrong. That's just, if you're going to demand that I give you an answer, my gut, that's what it tells me. My gut's fat, though. So it's got a lot of, as been told to me every 8 seconds. That's how I feel. I'm not sure. I think there's room to go to either extreme. But my guess is, if I had to bet right now at this point, that he's not going to ultimately be good enough to win with. That he's good enough to be a starter in the league, but honestly not good. But I'm not sure about that, and I don't want to throw him away. Dylan Gabriel, in my mind, there's no chance he's a starter in the league. None. He could probably be a backup. That's it. Like, I feel pretty confident in that. And again, I could be wrong about that too. But that's how I feel. But if the Browns don't have an opportunity to get more of a sure thing than Shedeur Sanders, which I don't think they do, then I might as well find out and give him a chance next year, because I don't want Mac Jones. I don't think he's the answer. Like, I'm more certain. Now, to be fair to Mac Jones, he hasn't played a ton either, but he's played a lot more than Shedeur. But I'm way more confident that Mac Jones is at best a bottom-tier starter than I am about Shedeur Sanders. So, yeah, if you want to say I'm on the fence a little bit about it, then I am a little bit. There's some more tweets that have been put up there, messages. I'm not interested in Malik Willis. I'd rather see Shedeur play than Malik Willis. Michael says, Bull, if you have to make changes, when you will start to rebuild the team, your opinion, honestly. I would fire everybody. If I own the Browns, I don't know. I don't have that kind of money. But if I did own the Browns, I'd like to feel like we'd be a championship team. Because I feel like, and again, there's no way to prove this, I think I'm smart enough to know what I don't know. And smart enough to know what I know. And I am I believe, a great judge of character. And I can tell when a person is full of crap. I'm very good at that. And I feel like if I own the Browns, I would be able to find the right people for the job. I think I'd be a good owner. I would want to be involved, but I would not meddle. I would hire good people and trust them. And trust them to do their job. Because if you don't trust your people to do the job and you meddle, then you don't trust yourself that you did anything. Elephant, Bull, what changes would you make in the Bengals offseason? I'd fire Zach Taylor. Obviously, I mean, that kicking, punting on 4th and less than 1 around midfield in the first half with like 11 minutes to go, that is such gutless bullshit football. I would have fired him right there. Well, he wouldn't have ever been my coach. I can't kill the Bengals in terms of spending on the roster. Like, they've been okay with that. They spent a lot of money on Burrow and Chase and Higgins. But I got to take that extra mile, and I got to spend money. Like, they don't spend money on coach, on front office. Their front office is a joke. Their GM is a buffoon. You don't know what the fuck he's doing. I'd fire him. He's way. I'll tell you something. As much as I don't like, I'm not gonna say he's worse than Andrew Berry because nobody's worse than Andrew Berry. Well, not nobody, but he's a terrible GM. But so is the Bengals GM. I'd take Kevin Stefanski over Zach Taylor. I'll tell you that. D. Emmanuel Comedy. See, this is what people say. Joe Burrow had 2 pick sixes in a short season. Why aren't you killing Burrow? Are we seriously going to, is that what we're seriously going to do here? First of all, it's a Brown show. I'm not going to talk about the Bengals unless somebody asks me specifically. Joe Burrow has, even when he was healthy, he didn't have a great season this year. But it's just that's so stupid. One guy's a proven star. What are you talking about? Carl Popper, 2 horrible wins. Browns can't even tank right. Sean Longway, draft Tate and O-line. I don't know if they're going to get Tate. He might be gone before they pick. Yeah, Chip, that delay of the game on the 5-yard line was an embarrassment. Shedeur Sanders and Kevin Stefanski both blew that. One of them's got to have some awareness. That the quarterback's got to be aware, and so does the coach. They both blew it there. SoCal Golf. The Bengals are wasting Burrow right now. Big Z, Bull for GM. Thank you, Z. 2012 PC. Sanders is a great quarterback. What did you expect with no running game or blockers? He's not a great quarterback. You're hoping he could become a great quarterback. He's not a great NFL quarterback right now. This is an embarrassing take. How about this guy? T Sides. Sanders' throw to Bond was good enough. Pro wide receivers make that catch. Just give me a break. Jamar Chase is not even making that catch. That was a bad throw. He's got to hit him. He was wide open. Stop it. Stop it. How can I take you seriously if you can't be fair about anything? D. Emmanuel, I'm not. Your chats are so silly that I'm not going to read them anymore. TPJP Bull odds Manzardo puts up a 3+ WAR season. Big on him. Love to talk about a team that actually matters. It's going to be tricky. He's not very good defensively. He still may DH some. Will he do enough on offense to put up a 3 WAR? I think he can. Yeah, I think it'll be close, but I say he gets just over 3. Mike says, Bull, how can we never look at Colin Kaepernick? Because the league, a lot of the owners are bad guys, and they blackballed the guy for speaking his mind. And then celebrate other people that do awful things. I don't know. What can I tell you? It's horrible. KTB says, Bull, any inside info on what the Browns players want to happen with AB and KS? I know for a fact some players like Kevin Stefanski, some players don't. Do they want him gone? There's probably some. I mean, Myles Garrett threw him under the bus. So, there you go. All right, thanks everybody for joining me today. Please hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. It's been fun doing these post games. Next post game, will probably be Cavs playoffs in April, and then back to the football season. The next football broadcast will be in September. Long way down the road. It was a fun season. Well, it wasn't a fun season for the Browns, but it's fun doing the podcast. Love you all. Thank you, even the haters. I'll talk to you next time. Great job by Kyle and Alex. Where else but right here in the bullpen with Adam the Bull, brought to you by Bet Rivers. See you, everybody.